welcome to episode 9 of All Things Armwrestling. Lorenzo, you've been here before.
Yes,
it's been a while, so now I got some new questions to ask you and hear your perspective.
Awesome.
I actually wrote a bunch of stuff down, so let me see exactly what we got here.
Okay.
The first thing I want to ask you is, what new things have you discovered in the last year or so while training and practicing on the table since we last talked about stuff?
What new things have I learned? So what I've learned is that my pronation shit, but everyone's pronation is shit.
What made you come to that conclusion?
Probably hanging out with Russians.
Yeah.
No. But yeah, arm wrestling is one of those sports that you continue to develop and get better with time.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think sometimes we might have false impressions on how strong we are, or how good we are.
That's like a lot of it.
Yeah. So, yeah. We all have a lot to work on, especially people who have been in the sport for less than 5 years. I think once you probably get to that 5-year mark, I think you're definitely getting up into the higher tier of strength, and meaning like tendon, ligament, like bone density, stuff like that. But yeah, still learning a lot about this sport, man.
So one of the things that I like about meeting you, the way we met, is you were one of the first people to come here.
Yeah.
And the awesome thing is that, like, I was new, like my cousin was coming here, he was new.
Oh yeah, Chris.
Right. Josh was here.
Yeah.
He was new. But Josh is like way bigger than us, so he's very strong, big bones and all that. So when you and Josh were here, and then there was like the rest of us, we were like, okay, we're going to learn from these guys. These guys are already advanced and they're strong. So that's one of the awesome things. So when then more new and strong people came, like I was always really glad that you and Josh would be here, because then it's like, oh, they're coming to meet me. How you doing? And they're like, this is your place. And I'm like, pull with Lorenzo.
Pull with this guy.
Yeah, because I'm like, this guy at least represents me in a way where, like, I'm learning and all, but you guys are so fucking strong.
Yeah.
Get with him. So, and now you're sitting here like, yo, my pronation is shit.
Yeah. Right? I mean, when I say that, it's relative to the people that I pull with.
Right.
So, I mean, in order to get better at anything, specifically sports too, you have to be around people who are stronger, who are more skilled than you. And I would say within the last month or so, that's definitely what I've done. I've definitely been surrounding myself with guys who are a bit stronger than me, a bit more experienced and skilled. So like my last tournament, which was in January, it was great. It was great because it was a stacked bracket of 185ers, and I did terrible. But it was great because it made me understand where I was technically, physically, and what I had to look forward to in the future, in terms of my competition. So again, you're always learning. If you're not learning, then you're probably not trying hard enough, and you're probably not pulling with people who are stronger than you.
Right. And when you go to a tournament, it's always so much different than practice. That's why it's really important to go to a tournament to learn that.
Yeah.
And what kind of things in the tournaments, the different tournaments that you've entered, what are the different things you've learned, or the same thing that keeps coming from the tournament where you're like, oh, I got to learn that, or it's cool that I'm getting used to that?
I mean, I think there's always different variables, so to me, it's not a steady pattern. With arm wrestling, it can be very predictable. Unpredictable.
Yeah, right.
And there was a guy who was in my category who I remember facing, I believe, I want to say my second or third competition. And this guy is like legit pro. And, again, this was not my best tournament, but, I was able to hang on with him a little bit. And to, like, compared to when I first pulled with him, which was just, slam right down to the pad. This was more like, he had to really put in his work to pin me.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that being said, I was, even though I didn't do well the tournament, I took that little kind of a win in sense of like being able to hold this guy and maybe understand, okay, like, my strength is definitely getting up there. But there's definitely things that I need to get down packed in the beginning before the match starts.
Mm-hmm.
And there were definitely other things that led up to, I feel my loss or my lack of placing. But for the most part, it was a good card. There was good people in my weight category, and I can't take anything away from that.
And what's your weight like now? Are you staying at 185 or?
Yeah. For now, I'm staying at 185, and maybe in the future I might go down.
Mm-hmm.
But at the moment, 185 feels pretty good to me.
The thing that's wild about even a situation like that you just described about pulling the same guy over time in two different things. There's one variable in there in arm wrestling that could change completely, which is that guy may not be pulling the same way those two different times.
Oh, yeah.
And then you're
the thing is that, there's
adapt.
that. There could be, maybe he overtrained, maybe he undertrained, maybe he didn't train at all. That's the thing. It's just, that's the thing with sports is that, the main thing about competition is that you're bringing your A game.
Yeah.
And that was that's all I can take from that competition was like, all right, I was able to hold this guy who I was not able to hold at all. And granted, like I don't know what that guy was going, because he didn't even place. So that goes to show the level of competition that was there.
Wow.
And this guy was really good. And, the guys there, Xavier, who we know, like he crushed it. He crushed it with his right hand.
Nice.
And that was Xavier's first pro tournament. So again, that goes to show you that, it's not a matter of, I don't think it's a matter of time in the sport. I think it's more of a matter of effort. It's talent too. Some people just come in very strong, but I think someone like Xavier, I think he was just maybe working harder than most people in terms of his training and his effort.
No kidding.
And
every time he comes here, you know what he says? I haven't pulled in like 4 months.
He's full of shit. He's full of shit. He's probably pulling right now as we speak. It's full of shit. No. He's got a table. He's got a table in his backseat. So,
right, in his car.
Yeah.
So, what kind of skills does a guy like Xavier bring to the table that are different when, because the other thing about tournaments is you don't know what skills are best suited to crush.
Yeah.
Because your opponents, may not require certain things, and you're not the person who has those skills.
Yeah.
Like, is Xavier one of those guys where he lucked out that he's really good at certain things, and his opponents were shitty at that, and he was like, "Holy shit, I got this."
I think he just brought it. That day I think he was probably just feeling really good. Xavier's got great pronation. He's got a good wrist. He's got a good hand. So, I think maybe, because guys have never seen him before, they may have underestimated him. And I told everyone there, I was like, watch out for my guy Xavier. So, I mean, that's the thing. It's like you don't know until you know.
Yeah.
So now they know.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I'm really glad to hear that.
Yeah, I was, at the end of it, I didn't do so well, but I was actually really happy to see him come away with a medal.
Yeah, that's amazing. What medal did he leave with?
He came here first. Came first, dude. First right hand. You can't ask for fucking more. And it was a stacked bracket.
Wow.
It was like, I think it was like 10 guys, and everyone went full throttle. It was great. It was beautiful.
The next time he comes here, I want to see him show up with that thing around his neck. He's so not the guy to do that.
You know what the shitty part is that for first they gave him a fucking plaque.
Huh.
Yeah, I was like, what?
That's weird.
That was so weird. I was like, what the fuck? Like, they couldn't give you a gold. I want give you a gold medal, give you a trophy, not a fucking a wooden plaque.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I guess that's supposed to be more.
Whatever.
Whatever. More important.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
So my next question for you is, how has in like the last year or so your approach to the table changed from beginning to end? Your mindset, your setup, and then the strategy in between. Like, are you looking at things completely differently now, or not really?
No, I wouldn't say too much. I don't think I'm changing things up too much. Again, I think right now for me, I'm trying to work a little bit more on my back pressure. So like just getting more bicep strength. And cupping, which I think all of us need. So yeah, those are the two main things I've been working on, and I'm trying to get back more into instead of going into, because I think I've been hooking a lot more, and I've kind of abandoned some of my like top roll kind of high hook ways. So I'm trying to go back to that. I'm trying to go more into like honing into my high hook, and getting more into more pronations, kind of stay away from like going inside too much, and kind of use my inside strength to finish off my opponents than to start it. Yeah,
one thing I noticed about learning from the beginning is you got to choose a path very simply. Are you going in or are you going out? And what's your strength, right? So you got like people who come in natural hook, right?
Yeah.
Then you got other guys they're like, you're a top roller. Do the top roll, right?
Yeah.
So I'm one of those guys who has a super weak inside game. And once I started to understand what a hook even is, then it's like the more I practice that, almost like at the beginning, the harder it is, because then it's like it's painful. You're so weak at it that you're like, oh, I need to spend more time doing this.
Yeah.
So what I noticed in development for me, which I don't know if it's the same way for you or everybody else, is I was like, well, I should spend time strengthening my hook inside stuff, but don't expect it to be my game.
Yeah.
And then once you get it to a point where you're like, oh, then you've strengthened your whole thing so that when you go outside again, the hook strength is hopefully going to balance you out.
Yeah.
So, but in no way am I like, oh, I'm only going to practice hook and I'm going to get so strong a hook. But I feel like it's something I have to go back and forth.
Yeah.
And then it'll strengthen you overall over time, you know?
Well, I think that's the overall game plan, I think for most arm wrestlers that are in it for the long term. I mean, yeah, it's great to have like that one fucking move that, is invincible. But at the end of the day, you want to be versatile. You want to be able to transition from outside and then go inside. And then, because if I'm just an outside arm wrestler, okay, that's great. But if someone takes my wrist, then what am I going to do? Then I have to maybe try to do maybe a flop wrist, or maybe maybe transition and try to come in,
right.
But if that's all I know is this, and then once I get broken open, then
it's game over.
Then it's game over. So I think at the end of the day, the goal is to be, have your ace in the hole, but also also practice your flop wrist, practice your inside, practice, even practice a king's move every once in a while.
Yeah, if you can do it.
If you can do it.
Like Josh comes here, he's always king's moving.
Yeah.
And he's able to pronate you out of whatever the hell you're doing. And good for him, right?
But that's and that's the goal. I mean, that's why we have a practice is to try different moves.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, you're gonna face someone who's gonna have a stronger top roll than you, or stronger hook than you, or stronger, something. So you're gonna have to utilize different tactics in order if you plan on beating that person.
Mm-hmm. I want to talk about. I just remembered something about Derrick Smith because I don't know the guy. I hear a lot about him. And I've been trying to piece together some of what his whole deal is. Yeah. And I think he's been pulling for like 7 years or something.
Okay.
And but what's funny is he's such a giant, strong guy.
Yeah.
He's the type of arm wrestler, and there's guys like him, maybe not on his huge, like abilities in the beginning, but there's guys like him who, when they start, they're so big and strong that they don't even know how to arm wrestle, and they'll enter a bunch of tournaments and keep winning and placing.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys. So what's funny, what I didn't realize about him is when you live that life and you go around just arm wrestling and you're not even really caring about learning that much, or because you're just getting away with so much.
Yeah.
I think for the first 5 years, Derrick Smith got away with that.
Yeah.
And I only heard about him in the last 2 years when he started to really get on people's radars, where people were saying, oh, he's this, he's that. He's pulling with Devon. Devon's saying all this good shit about him and all this stuff. And now that he's like 7 years or whatever in, he's really, really on the technical aspect of it.
Yeah.
And I feel like he's really taking it serious now. And it's like, that's an interesting path to like just come in with so much power and strength that you're not even thinking about it and you're doing well.
But that's the thing, though, is that he did that for so long until he couldn't. Until he faced guys who were, like, I think he had a match with John Brzenk. I mean, and granted, that's John Brzenk, but you come out of that and you're like, wait a minute, this guy is just so much better than me, and he's not big at all.
Right.
And he's not big at all.
Yeah.
So what does that really mean? Being big and being, I mean, it means something, but to a certain degree. And then once you get to that degree where it's like it's a matter of facing people who have been doing this much longer than you, who just have way more tendon strength, ligament strength, and just are just technically better than you. So
John Brzenk, I mean, I didn't even think to enter him into this conversation, but it's like, what I love about him is greatest of all time is what everybody call him. Yet, because he's making his comeback, he's not even in the top 10 right now, but it doesn't matter because he's,
I mean, I don't know. After beating Zoloyev, I keep him in the top. I mean, in North America,
I guess in the world. I mean,
in the world,
10.
yeah. I mean, in the world, probably not. He's probably he's definitely in the top 20 in the world.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, John's John.
Yeah. Exactly. And because he's training again, he's only
so crazy. He's not like. I think this is the first time he's ever really trained. Like, really. Like, he's actually, like...
Because he has to.
He's doing, like, cupping stuff. Like, he's never done that before.
Right.
And now he's doing that stuff. Because even John understands that, wait a minute, there's another level. And in order, and this is the greatest of all time, there's another level. And if I want to hit that next level, I should probably do things I've never done before.
Yeah, and everyone else is doing this, so Jesus Christ.
So just imagine if I do it. So that's,
Look at what Todd Hutchings is doing. It's and if you watched him and you didn't do all that stuff.
Yeah, just imagine.
What's my next question for you?
Oh, yeah.
What kind of strengths and weaknesses have you been working on? I think you kind of answered that a little bit, but I think maybe you can go into some detail.
So definitely working on more a little bit more bicep strength.
Oh, so what kind of things have you been doing for that?
So I've been doing more bicep curls. Actually, Sunday, me and my pal Alex, who's super strong, who I need to bring here one day, and he'll just demolish everyone.
Nice.
This guy's so strong. Me and him were training, and we were just doing standing bicep curls. And we did. I think we got up to doing 45, 90. How much is that? 90. We did like it was like 120, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 120, which isn't that much, but to me it was a lot.
Yeah. I mean, when I was younger, it's weird when you're super young and you're like 20 and you're just starting. You can lift crazy amounts of weird weights just because you're young and stuff. Mm-hmm. But then later, because you've put in so many reps and sets over the years and your muscles mature, you start to realize your muscles respond to so much less weight. So then something like 120 like means so much more. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like I remember being in the gym, like a commercial gym, and like all the Goombas are in there.
Oh, yeah.
And they always came in with their guinea teas and their gold crosses, and
classic Brooklyn.
Always doing chest and buys, right?
Yeah.
And they'd be curling 135 because you got to have the big boy plates on the bar.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, these guys are like 160 pounds. And they're curling 135. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on over here?
Yeah.
And then like, I remember like, yo, let me start curling. Like, and I remember being able to curl 135 too. But I'm thinking, but look at how we're curling 135. It's just like, what are you doing?
It's a mess.
Yeah, like that's
throwing your hips into
curling
it.
135. Like,
throwing your neck up.
like
you're not
look at you, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's hilarious.
You're like, it looks like you're anyways.
Yeah, but like those are the day. Like that's how you did it. You know what I mean? It's like, whatever. 135, throw it on there.
Exactly.
Curl it. Why not?
There was no technique.
Why don't you curl it? Right.
It's so weird.
What are you, weak? So besides bicep, what other, and pronation?
Just the basics, trying to get more wrist flexion going. And for me right now, it's kind of just trying to train with different people. Mm-hmm. Gym wise. So what I'm doing now is every Sunday, if people want to come by, they can, and I just get them inside my gym, and we train, and whatever they're working on, we'll work on that. Whatever I'm working on, we'll work on that. And it was nice at the end of our training session, we actually pulled a little bit too, but nothing crazy. We just kind of held and just kind of like kind of went back and forth, did a little bit of pronation on each other, and it was nice. It was really chill. But yeah, I mean, arm wrestling is just it's a sufferfest, and I love it. I love arm wrestling. I think it's a great sport, and I slowly see myself progressing. And it's frustrating because some people you just see, and it's just some people it just clicks. Everything just kind of clicks, and but my progress, I feel like it's good, but it's definitely at a turtle's pace, I feel. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, but you know what I like about that slow turtle's pace is like, I feel like you're gonna retain everything way more solid too. Like, it's just like you're not going to go backwards at all. And as long as you're always progressing, even if no matter how little it is, like, can't really complain about that. It's good. It's a net positive. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I feel good. I feel good about my progress. I've had, I'm kind of fighting a little bit of a like nagging injury with my right bicep.
How long has that been bothering you?
I don't know. I would say about 2 to 3 months. But it's like anything. You got to work around it. And I mean, I'm doing physical therapy for it, so I'm sure it'll clear up if I take care of it in the next like month or so.
Yeah, I think the more time you put into it, it helps the most.
Yeah.
Like the last time I did really, really heavy Pendlay rows a bunch of years ago, I kept getting better at them. So then eventually, after a few months, I got like to this crazy amount of weight, and I was like, I could do whatever.
Yeah.
Like the weight was stupid. It was like a Pendlay row, and I was doing 275.
Okay.
And I was like, I could do 275 today. I did fucking 260.
Yeah.
Why the fuck can't I do 275
Why
today?
can't I just do 15 more pounds?
Yeah, it's going to look cool. It's going to have the 2 plates and the nickels, the fat nickels on the side. And I'm going to do it. So I was able to do it.
Yeah.
But it turns out that I shouldn't have. Because then for like 3 months, I couldn't turn a fucking door handle with one arm. And that's what did it. Because there's a tendon there and you're pulling, and it was like, son of a bitch.
Yeah.
So I'll never do that again. Like, just stay at 275.
Yeah. We're stupid.
But it took months and months, and I didn't rehab it at all. I was just dealing with it.
Yeah.
And in a way, it's like you wonder if it'll even work any faster. But I think the more time you put into it, it does help.
Yeah. I mean, I've had enough injuries in the past where, I understand how my body works, and it's just a matter of time. Again, just like take it easy. Don't aggravate it as much as don't aggravate it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
right?
Just be good.
Yeah. Let's see what else I got here for you.
All right.
What philosophical insights do you have into how you view the sport differently? Is there any change?
I don't know. I don't know if I don't think I'm that into arm wrestling, at least in terms of years that I've come up with philosophical concepts.
Okay.
I think if I had anything of depth to say about the sport, is that it's much more than what it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. I had someone today. I had a coworker who's a Pilates instructor, and they said something about. They said something about like, you have to do a session with me, with your, in terms of doing Pilates. I was like, I like to stay tight, whatever. And he was like, for your little sport of arm wrestling.
Mm.
And they said that, and it's funny because a part of me, it kind of struck a chord in my ego a little bit in terms of like, a little sport, like, fuck you very much.
Right. Yeah.
But he's right. Arm wrestling is a small sport, but it's a sport that it's small, yet it's so large because it's so universal.
Mm.
Almost everyone has arm wrestled at one point in their life. So it was funny when he said that, I was kind of like a little bit stung, but then I was like, well, yeah, it's small, but then it's just so profound that it's something that all of us who are arm wrestlers did when we were kids.
Mm-hmm. Everyone knows what the word means.
Everyone knows.
First time you heard Pilates, you didn't know what the fuck that meant.
What the fuck is Pilates?
Right.
Exactly. Exactly. But if I have anything of philosophical. It's how small arm wrestling truly is in the spectrum of sport and of how people look at it. But it's so large because everyone has done it. So to me, it's almost inevitable that arm wrestling at some time it will become pretty big. I think in my lifetime, I really hope that people will look at arm wrestling as a true sport and give it more credit than people actually give it.
It's a funny thing because when you think of, you had me think of two different things. So first of all, I'm walking down the street last night, and I usually don't go past certain streets in a while. So I figured, let me go take a walk and see what's changed, what's open, what's not open because of what's been going on in the city.
Okay.
And I walked by this one place where it's a building with a commercial space, and there's one commercial space on the right, and there's one commercial space on the left. And on the left, it says Awakenings Health Center, right? Okay. And on the right, it says Hot Yoga, Hot Pilates.
Okay.
And the Awakenings Health Center, it says Space for Rent. And there's nothing there. It's closed. But the fucking Yoga Pilates place is open for business.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the Pilates and the yoga people have it so easy right now because they're experiencing this thing where they're a trend, they're a thing.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, like I said, 10 years ago, if you asked me what the fuck Pilates was, if I even know what it was, I'd have been like, the what? I don't even know what the fuck is that a word? Is that English? Yeah. It's like, what the fuck is that, right? Yeah. But as far as arm wrestling goes, I wonder if it's, the thing about arm wrestling is when people talk about arm wrestling and they don't arm wrestle, but they mention it, it's always like in jest where you want to arm wrestle for it. Like it's a test. It's almost like a little friendly fight. Yeah. And we're going to see who's going to win, right? And it's weird how it's like maybe that kind of gets in the way because people immediately are like, oh, this is a contest. Yeah. This is a masculine kind of a contest. Yeah. It's a show of strength. Yeah. And people are like, I'm not doing that. Yet boxing is so much more than that. And there's no problem with boxing. Like, you can go to a boxing gym. Oh, yeah. I go to a boxing gym. Oh, that place where you beat the shit out of each other and you're angry? No, that's not at all what it is, right? But that's the other thing. Like, boxing is like, if you tell your friend, oh, yeah, I've been hitting the heavy bag for like 6 months. Yeah, that's really good. It really gets the aggression out. Yeah. But it's like, that's an interesting thing to think because I'm never angry when I'm hitting the bag. Yeah. I don't have any aggression. I'm only thinking about the technical aspects of how to box. Yeah. Arm wrestling is the same thing. Yeah. But what's interesting is it is smaller. And I wonder if when it gets bigger, which like you said, it is, and it will be. Oh, yeah. Are we going to miss these times when it was small? Or are we just going to enjoy it more?
I think we'll enjoy it more. I think, with everything that's gone on, I think we want it to grow. We want it to grow so it's more accessible. I mean, to me, it's one of the most accessible sports to ever be invented. I mean, me and you, if we just clear this table right now, we can arm wrestle.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect arm wrestling table.
Right.
So I think it's just a matter of time where I think people will look at the sport and say, okay, I get this. These guys are trying to pin each other and there's dire consequences in it because this guy is literally trying to rip this other guy's arm off, So, I mean, I don't know. It seems pretty cool, pretty intense. And again, I think as social media and certain arm wrestlers start to continue to get more media coverage, I think, the sport of arm wrestling will kind of be in the spotlight a little bit more.
Yeah, so you just brought up something really interesting to me because Levan is like number one in the world.
Yeah.
Most people don't even know who the fuck he is.
Yeah.
I just showed Deborah a picture of Levan, and I explained to her that Devon's going to have a match against him. Yeah. And she'd never seen Levan before, and you know what her reaction was? She looked at him and said, "Oh my God, what this guy, like, he looks like he can't even talk."
Yeah, monstrous.
Right. And Devon's going against him, and I swear to you, I would have bet money that Joe Rogan knew who the fuck Devon was. And before last week, he had no idea who the hell Devon was. Yeah, so that's amazing. So
I knew that too because I was watching his show a few episodes back, and he was talking about the match that Devon and Hafthor Bjornsson had.
Right.
And he was talking about Hafthor.
Yeah.
But he was like, the way he was like, oh yeah, he had this opponent.
The skinny guy.
Yeah, he was like, I think like he really had no, and it's funny because when he brought it up, I was like, oh, he's going to mention Devon. This is great. But he didn't even know who Devon was.
Just what didn't stick.
Which I thought was hilarious. I was like, oh my God, like that's crazy. But, it's funny, fast forward, Devon was on Lex Friedman's show, and they had I thought it was a great, great podcast.
Huh.
And then literally, I think the next Joe Rogan episode, Rogan started talking about how he met Devon and like he was shaking hands with him. And he was like, I never felt a hand like that in my life. And the crazy part apparently is like Devon doesn't even really have the biggest hand in arm wrestling. Funny enough, like his hand is pretty small compared to like someone like John's.
Yeah, there are crazier hands than Devon's. Yeah, and exactly. He couldn't stop talking about his hand.
Yeah, so, I think this is great for the sport. I mean, the sport's definitely getting bigger. I mean, when you have someone like Rogan talk about Devon and, it's a good sign. It's a good sign.
Yeah, and I forgot that he knew about Hafthor and Devon, and he literally forgot.
Oh yeah, he just like he was talking about Hafthor, and then I think he was like, yeah, he was like fighting this other guy. I think he was like an arm wrestler, and it was like, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, all they could focus in was on Thor.
Yeah,
like
which is great, because Hafthor is, he's definitely in that, I definitely put arm wrestling right next to kind of like strongman shit, because they kind of go hand in hand in certain ways. I think there's a mutual like with strongman and arm wrestlers. There's definitely like a respect.
It totally crosses over.
There's definitely
Scott Mendelson.
Yeah, you have a great respect amongst one another, because you have Hafthor, who's the world's strongest man, but he's arm wrestled Devon and he couldn't even move him. The world's strongest man.
Right.
You're listening to what I'm saying?
Right. Say it again.
The world's strongest man arm wrestled Devon and couldn't move him. Okay? So again, world's strongest in what?
Right.
You know what I mean? I guess, yes, world's strongest in pushing shit and throwing shit, But, arm wrestling, again, is a certain strength and it requires a certain skills, that I think are overlooked.
I never thought of arm wrestling this way until you just said that. It's a really interesting sport because it's kind of like an all your eggs in one basket sport that pays off.
Yeah.
Because like you're doing these things that no one else does, and you're doing them all the time.
Yeah.
The most so that you can be the best.
Yeah.
And it's like, if that doesn't pay off, then what do you got? Nothing, but it does, because that's the sport. The craziest thing. It's going sideways.
And it's cool. It's great. It's great. One thing that I love is like, having people who've never really pulled, who are really strong, and pulling with them.
Mm-hmm.
And again, sometimes they'll, I have guys who I'll arm wrestle with every once in a while, and I love it because I'm showing them something new. It's something fun, and it's something humbling because, some of these guys are probably 200 plus pounds, and they can bench press way more than me. They can deadlift more than me. They can squat more than me. Most things they can do better in terms of weights.
Mm-hmm.
But they can't pin me,
Mm-hmm.
So for me, like that's awesome, because you have these guys who are, clearly strong as fuck, but at the end of the day, it's nice to introduce someone into the sport. And for me, when I do that, sometimes I'm like, man, if you could just stick to this, you'd probably be pretty good.
That's what I tell people when I see that too.
Some guys, man, I'll see at the gym, and I'm just like, fuck, man. If you just like worked on your wrist flexion just a little bit more, you would be devastating.
Mm-hmm.
So
one of the things that got me into this is knowing that I'm not one of those power lifter type guys, and I know where the wall is and how much I have to work to get anywhere if I want to get stronger in certain lifts. And arm wrestling laughs at all that. So I'm like, hey,
a bit, yeah.
Like if I could just concentrate more on this and these other interesting things, you can win or be good at it.
Yeah.
Is really, really interesting stuff. You said stuff about pronation, and it reminded me of something that I read recently about Neanderthal bones that they found. And there's this short video where this guy was talking about a Neanderthal woman skeleton that they found, and they were talking about how she compares to current modern man.
Okay.
And what some of the differences were. And he focused in on the humerus bone.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And he said that the female Neanderthal, just being a Neanderthal, living her life, whatever they did every day, had a much thicker, more developed humerus bone.
Interesting.
And then he said this bone in modern man, in order to approach what her bone looked like, the only way that you would see that is if you look at arm wrestlers' arms. So in other words, like
that's hilarious.
You are evolving your skeleton through arm wrestling.
Okay.
So he said like...
so you're telling me we're just devolving then?
well, I look at it two ways. It's like the two things are converging in different ways. So what it is you're changing your genetics through your environment, through the constant. So you're making that bone stronger, whereas in the beginning, it just was what it was.
Yeah.
And, the other really interesting thing that he said besides that if you work your humerus by putting stress on it, like arm wrestling, that bone will get thicker and thicker and thicker.
Oh, yeah.
And then that's what makes you less prone to breaking and stronger in certain angles and stuff. The other thing that he said was, if this Neanderthal woman arm wrestled,
oh my God,
she would have been, he said, something like 10 to 15% better than the world's greatest arm wrestlers of today.
Interesting.
Only because the muscles for pronation insert in different places. So she had much better pronation strength.
Yeah.
And the first thing I thought was like, wow, can you imagine if arm wrestlers can have their pronation muscles reattached somewhere else?
Oh God. I'm almost certain there's at least one arm wrestler out there that's thinking about doing that.
Or there's people whose insertions are different, so they're already better at it.
All exhaust, someone like that for sure.
Right? Isn't that wild?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
That's awesome.
So basically, back to us. Like I feel like I don't know how much you feel it's changed in a year, but in a year, I can see that my bones and my muscles are changing. When I look at them, they're not the same.
Oh yeah, like my elbow flexor is way thicker than it ever was. The other thing too that I feel like I'm developing or feeling more confident in is my press, specifically on my left side. It's something that I'm trying to work on a little bit more, but my press is feeling pretty strong. And Alex kind of confirmed. He was like, "Hey, you've been working when we were training on Sunday, he asked, have you been working your press?" It's like, yeah. He was like, yeah, it's feeling pretty strong. And if a guy like that is telling me my press feels pretty strong, I'm gonna take that and run with it.
Yeah. And are you doing that on the table, or are you doing that with bench presses and stuff like that, and triceps?
I've been doing a lot more like JM presses, bench pressing a bit more too. But yeah, it's just been feeling pretty solid. So we'll see. I might become a presser.
Right.
Yeah.
I know when I used to go to the gym a long time ago, and I see these giant meathead dudes who just have, you could tell the way they're built naturally, like the guys with the elbows that are like as big as my head.
Oh yeah.
Like those are the guys that are like overhead pressing 185 to warm up, and because their fucking elbows are just monstrous. Yeah. And I feel like that's an arm wrestling gift, is when you have those fucking elbows. So it's like arm wrestling builds your elbow.
Oh my god!
Because you can't have a flimsy elbow in this sport.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could, but
it's not going to last. It's not going to help. It's not going to help you to have that little elbow. What is the most enjoyable aspect of doing this consistently and repeatedly?
I mean, pinning people that you've never been able to pin.
The ultimate reward.
Yeah, I mean that's why you arm wrestle. You arm wrestle because it's fun, but it's competitive. It's competitive even if you don't go to a competition. You just go to a practice, and you see a guy who maybe has been crushing you for however long, and you. One day you get to a point where like maybe you stop him from pinning you.
Yeah.
Like I experienced at the competition, or you actually get the better of him and you pin him. So I think that's one of the most enjoyable aspects. I mean, it has to be. Is being able to beat someone that you just had no idea you'd be able to beat.
Yeah, realizing those little rewards that you're getting better.
Yeah,
like I didn't think about that before, but like even when, because I don't really expect to be able to pin really strong guys out of nowhere, especially just doing it a year or whatever. But like when guys come here only once every 5 months or something, and they say something, and sometimes I wonder if they're just saying it to be nice, but they're like, "You got stronger."
You feel stronger.
Like it feels. Like, oh, I wasn't expecting him to say that, but it feels so good when they say that. It's like, oh, he said I'm getting stronger.
Yeah, like I had Andre. I think me, him, and Alex. We had a practice about two weeks ago at my place, and I mean, these guys are clearly stronger than me, but Andre was like, yeah, you're definitely feeling stronger. So I'm like, all right, I'll take it.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, that's the little things.
Yeah, you know what else I like is the people, like all these people that you mentioned, they're such cool guys. They're good guys, man.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Like, if they were all assholes, they would just fucking pin you and walk away and just be like, whatever, dude, like work on it.
Yeah.
Like, call me next time you want me to come and beat your ass. But they don't. What they do is they look at you and they're like, I mean, the first thing they got to think is like, holy shit. Glad you're doing this. Look at how much fervor you have for this sport. Yes, I'm stronger than you. Maybe it's because I've been doing it so much better. Maybe all these whatever. But what they always do is they see where you're strong and where you're weak, and they let you learn to try to work through it.
Yeah.
And they'll sit there and tell you all the things that you got to do and where you're good and where you can do better because you're good there. So keep going. And every one of these guys, they tell me something different from their perspective, but I put it all together and I try to figure out what has more weight. And it's like, that's the other reason why I do this. I'm like, if we didn't have that, like, God, this would suck, man.
That's the, I think that's the other great part is the camaraderie. When you look at any sport where you're physical with the other person, it's just, you feel compelled to want to help because, who wants to come to a practice, right? Why would I want to come to practice and train with a guy and not want to see him improve? That's one of the worst things I think to see as human beings in general is seeing someone throughout their life and seeing no progress in anything,
right?
Just in life.
Yeah.
If you saw someone for years, right? And you saw them work at McDonald's and they were working the register. And every time you saw them, they were working the register. And granted, this is someone that I don't even know. I would be concerned.
Yeah.
I would be concerned. If there was 2 years that I went to that McDonald's and that person was still working the register and nothing has changed, meaning like their clothes, their shirt, their hat, like, I'm like, wait a minute, they haven't even given you like a button. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
That's concerning. But that's why we help each other. Is because we don't want to see you. We don't want to see a person who's doing this and not see any progress. I want to see some progress. I want someone who is not as good as me at least come close, or try to come close,
As long as they try, then yeah, that's good. Because what is it when you see that guy that's not changing for 2 years? You got to ask them, are you okay with this? Because that's the only reason I think that happens is because they're okay with that.
I think it's that, but I don't think it's. I think it's more that they're not being pushed. That's it. I think that's it. At the end of the day, is that person is not being pushed, and that they're not around. They're not around better, whatever it is. In our case, better arm wrestlers, stronger arm wrestlers. And I think we're in a good position. We're very fortunate where we're around pretty strong guys. So that's way more than you can ask for, especially in any sport.
Yeah, because when I first started, I had no idea like what the real, like if I got to cross a river, right? And I'm like, oh, I could see the river. It's a big fucking river I got to cross, but I could see what it'll take to cross that river. When I started this shit, the fucking river I got to cross, I can't even tell how wide it is. Yeah. But I know I got to get over there.
Yeah.
So now here I am, like 15 months later, I still haven't crossed that fucking river. Still don't know where the fuck it is, but there's guys on the other side of that river who are like, yo.
It's like, you can come, if you walk a little bit this way and a little bit that way, and you'll get there. And that's the thing about most physical endeavors is that everyone has their own path, everyone has their own way, and there's inevitably with time there's always a time for someone. Someone's always gonna have their moment. So to me it's like, at least speaking for myself, it's just a matter of time until like I break through and like actually win a pro comp. So it's just a matter of time. I think that's kind of the mantra that you have to say to yourself. It's only a matter, and as long as you're doing the work too. As long as you're doing the work and you're putting in time and practice, and you're doing the proper lifts, it's only a matter of time that you'll get to where you want to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Oh man, what are some of the cliche phrases of the sport that take years to fully understand? Like, I say this because, like, when I first started, people would go, use your whole body, look at your hand, breathe, regrip, climb. Regrip and climb a little bit, not so cliche, but like what I realized is the reason why I asked that is like there might be better cliches that you come up with. Think about it, but like to me, like whole body, look at your hands, stuff like that. Because people, when they're first learning, they don't know that you should use your whole body.
Yeah.
So everyone's yelling at, use your whole body. But the crazy thing is, like, you can get that on day one, but man, I swear to God, there's times where I'll be like using my whole body, or I'll see somebody use their whole body where I'm like, holy shit, that's what the fuck that means. Yeah. Like you caught like a little extra, like, wow, well, I didn't know what that meant until now. But
that's the thing though, is that there are, I think like anything, there are degrees to what is being explained. Like somebody will say, first of all, I do not agree with breathing.
Yeah. Tell me about that.
Well, I think Todzilla actually, he was like, I love Todd Hutchings. He explains it like, he was like, when someone's deadlifting, like, 600 pounds, are you going to tell that person to breathe at the top of that lift? It's like, no.
Right.
It's like you breathe after, and I mean, and that's how I feel about arm wrestling. I mean, once you're thrown into it and you're in that fight, you're in that war. I mean, I guess you can breathe. I mean, there's maybe little bits of breathing, like kind of breathing through, like as I think what's his name, Pavel Tutsalina says, calls breathing through the steel. So it's like it's breathing, but it's more constricted. It's more like having a contracted core, But I don't know about, when I remember I had a pal who was like, oh, you got to breathe more. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, well, if I breathe, then my whole body is just gonna kind of let loose. I'm gonna loosen up if I breathe. So no, I'm not gonna breathe. I'll breathe after I win, or after that guy pins me. But once we go in, like that's it. I'm going to keep everything tight. I'm gonna breathe in. Maybe if it's a war, maybe I'll throw in a little bit, some breath, but for the most part, you gotta stay tight, dude.
Right.
So that's why it's just like, when people say breathe, next time someone says breathe, I'm going to say, how do you want me to breathe?
Right. Because what sparked Todd Hutchings to talk about that? Somebody must have said a thing.
Yeah, I think it was at one of his seminars or like workshops or something like that. So yeah, he was just like, I mean, I love Todd because he always makes sense. When he talks about like, even when he says like, it's not hand wrestling, it's arm wrestling. It's like you've seen handless arm wrestlers, but never seen an arm.
Right.
Never seen an armless arm wrestler.
Right.
It's true. So yeah, I mean the breathing part. I mean, I don't know. Like,
I think what you said is exactly right. How to breathe, because when people say breathe. When they say it, it's
what, breathe in? That's like, the only thing I'm thinking about is I'm just trying to breathe in so I can contract as much as possible. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm just a a coach and personal trainer. Like, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
No, you bring up a good point, because I think there really is a really technical, specific way that you need to breathe on the table. Because I think maybe the people that say it, that I hear when people say it, is because new guys hold their breath, for too long.
Yeah, I can see that.
And then they might pass out because they fucking held their breath, and they're like,
I mean, how many?
know,
the thing is, like, how many guys have you ever seen pass out at an arm wrestling table?
it's not a lot, but it could happen.
Could, but like, I actually want to see it happen now. I would really want to see that happen. So I mean, maybe breathing, if you're in the winning position, I can see that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if you're in a really comfortable position, maybe breathing then. But I don't know. I think in the beginning of the fight, and if it's a real fight, I don't think you're really breathing that much. I mean, again, maybe small, shallow breaths in and out.
Yeah.
But again, like, if you say breathe, you better have a fucking explanation on how that person should breathe. Because arm wrestling, if you ever arm wrestled, and if you're in a fight, you understand how hard it is to actually breathe.
Right.
So, and everyone knows once, and I look at guys too, once I see a guy go, I'm trying to drive him right down to the pad.
See, that's a good point.
Oh yeah, exactly. Once I see you actually trying to breathe,
that's on.
That's it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna capitalize on that bullshit.
Yeah.
And that bullshit breath.
That's awesome. Are there any other cliche beginning weird things in arm wrestling?
Not that I can think of right now. I think those are pretty much them. I mean, even look at your hand. I know plenty of guys who don't fucking look at their hand. Who fucking dominate. I know what's his name? Really strong arm wrestler. His name is Black Ice. He looks up.
Oh yeah, he looks like he's in fucking break arm position.
Exactly. He's looking up and just to the fucking pad.
Yeah.
He doesn't even look at it. I mean, granted, he's been arm wrestling longer than I've probably been alive. But I mean, it's all relative, and I think it's definitely mostly for beginners and amateurs. But you get to a certain point, everything's rules are meant to be broken, and cliches are meant to be. I don't know.
What do you think is missing from the sport? Like, what does it need?
I don't fucking know, man.
It's moving along, right, at its pace, but is there something that's like it's dying for besides we talked about exposure. I think exposure is what it needs.
I mean, I think everything essentially that essentially needs to grow needs exposure. I mean, it's kind of like, it's kind of like a plant. If you don't expose that plant to sunlight, it won't really grow. If you don't expose it to water, it won't grow. And yeah, I think maybe that is one of the main things that arm wrestling really does need is exposure. And I think it's getting it, but it's little by little by little. And I think slowly people are starting to like, oh yeah, like this is a sport. This thing has been around for a while. And we're in a perfect time where, again, it's just a matter of time. We're in a time that it's just a matter of time where people will look at arm wrestling and say, "Oh, this is a legit sport," and it needs recognition. You know?
All the things are available for it to come together faster, like a brush fire.
Yeah, it's all there. We have guys who are, there's definitely world-class guys. You have world-class characters too. We have a good community of people.
Speaking of characters, man, were you upset when Evan Burgoyne couldn't fucking go against Schoolboy?
I mean, I wasn't so like honestly, it didn't even like surprise me.
Mm-hmm.
Funny enough, it didn't even surprise me. You know,
you mean like because it seemed like a cop out?
A little bit.
Uh-huh.
A little bit. Like I don't. Do you know why he couldn't go to the tournament?
The official reason is that he got COVID.
I mean, then he got COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, yeah.
It just seemed like the stupidest way for that to go. Where it's like, man,
But,
all this shit.
I mean, it's we live in stupid times.
Right, yeah.
You know? And yeah, you got COVID. Yeah, it is what it is. It is what it is. I mean, again, it didn't surprise me that he wasn't either like, and it wasn't like, it didn't surprise me because I don't think much of the guy.
Yeah.
But just going off of his lack of, I don't know, it just seems like he has like this lack of discipline, just kind of like I do what I want. You know, it's just like people who usually, you know, if you are in that realm of I do what I want, and usually things will happen to you.
Surprises will come up.
If you do whatever you want, and then things will just happen to you. Like you will get COVID if you're not responsible.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not surprising that he wasn't able to go.
And so during that whole time over there at Ingen's thing, what match or matches were like the most exciting for you?
Oh man, it was Ron Bath and what's his name? Fuck, I forget his name.
Yeah, who did he go against?
Why
do I forget right now?
I mean, because he's not American, that's why. And Americans only care about Americans.
Because I also was so amazed by Ron Bath.
Yeah, that was pretty incredible. Zurab Taberivib. I'm fucking up this guy's name. But Zurab, that was his name. That was a hell of a match.
Yeah.
It was a hell of a match because, I mean, for a moment you thought Ron had it, you know, and then Zurab came back, and then you were just like, holy shit, Zurab was, holding him in tight positions, you know, and you know, you got to tip your hat off to both those guys because it was an absolute fucking war, and you kind of have to, even though he lost, kind of have to tip your hat pretty deep for Ron because he's fucking old. Like he shouldn't be able to do that.
I know, he fucking,
you know, and that guy he's more than half that guy's age. More than half. And he was able to stick in there, you know, and I thought it was phenomenal. It was a great match. And it was great. You know, it was really beautiful to see. And I think on Ron's part two you just saw all the aspects of arm wrestling. You know, he went from top roll to hook to press. He even had a King's move at one time. And it really showed Ron's experience. You know, you really saw like, oh, this guy, like if you showed that match to someone who knew nothing about arm wrestling, all right? If you showed that match to someone who knew nothing about arm wrestling, they would say, okay, this is interesting because clearly that guy is old as fuck and this guy's pretty young, but that old guy is pretty fucking jacked. Okay. All right. Wait. Okay. Oh, wow. He's doing that. Oh, okay. Clearly this guy has been doing this a long time because he's doing things that this guy is not even trying to touch. And granted, Ron had to do that to outmatch that young guy's strength because that guy was definitely stronger than Ron. You know,
he was finding a weakness. He was looking and searching.
Yeah,
and strategizing. He was going everywhere.
It was going everywhere.
Yeah.
And I think that was for me, that was the beautiful part about watching that match, specifically watching Ron, on display. And you just saw these, I've seen Ron pull before. I mean, not in person, but I've seen him, and I never see him so versatile before.
Right.
So I was just like, I was very impressed. I was very impressed. Even though he lost, I was even more impressed with Zurab, but I was still very impressed with Ron's performance.
Yeah, because it was like almost you could look at Ron's performance and break down all the different things that he was doing as like a laundry list of how to fucking arm wrestle.
Yeah,
right.
Pretty much.
That's why when the new guy looks at that, they're like, wow, what is going on here?
Yeah. Oh, it's more than just this. Like, yeah.
And Ron also came into battle. When they say never give up, that's what he was not giving up.
That motherfucker had a mouth guard in.
Yeah, he always does. And that's another hardcore thing about
dude,
him.
I'm so considering doing that my next tournament is bringing a fucking dude, because I would say mouth guards are kind of a performance enhancer. People who have not worn a proper mouth guard don't understand the immense strength that they bring. Especially when you're competing physically. Oh my God, having something to bite down on, and really you can really dig in whatever the fuck you're doing. Oh my God, forget about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So, I think Todd was rocking a mouth guard as well, right?
Oh, I don't know, because I actually didn't. I don't think I saw Todd's match.
Oh my God, he just dominated. Oh. It was just. You just saw it. You're just like, oh my God, like this is raw, fucked up power that he has, and it's actually gonna be. I really want to see Todd and John pull. I really want to see that match. Yeah. That match is going to be so good.
Right.
I think that match is going to be so good because they haven't faced each other in such a long time. And if anyone remembers anything about when they first pulled, it was crazy. Because you were like, oh, John's going to walk right through this guy. And then fucking Todd you were just like, what? His arm hasn't broken yet. His wrist hasn't broken yet. This guy is made of fucking steel here, and you take that Todd and then with this, I think Todd now is, I don't know. It's
got to be the best Todd that there's ever been, right?
I think this Todd is probably the best Todd. And for Toddzilla too, it's like he's always working and crafting his strength, and it's always interesting watching his YouTube videos and his how he trains and his philosophies. He's definitely one of the most interesting, if not interesting, people to watch train. Just watching him train is interesting, but then watching him actually arm wrestle is even more interesting.
Yeah, because when I think of watching a training video, the first thing I think is, I'm not watching this. But then I start watching a Toddzilla training video, and I'm like, holy shit, I do want to see this.
Yeah. And it's him just kind of pulling, letting it go, bam. It's repetitive, it's weird, but it's informative, and there's a formula to it.
Well, it's the things that he does too. Like, just when you think you've done or you've seen people do all the things that you do, then Todd comes in with things where I'm just like, what is that? Like when I saw him pulling on a 4-inch PVC pipe?
Oh yeah, doing pull-ups. Yeah.
Not just the pull-ups, but he did something that he called, I forget what he called it, but it was like a standing row.
Oh, yeah.
So he's rowing from up here, and then like you said the other time where he's palming the pipe, so he's doing pull-ups.
Yeah.
With the total cupping.
Cup. Yeah. Yeah, it's
like,
genius.
That's great.
He's just like, fuck, I need my own gym.
Yeah. It's unorthodox, but completely like exactly what it looks like it should be.
Yeah.
The last episode, Mike was on here.
Okay.
And I asked him, can you describe arm wrestling for us in the least amount of words?
Okay.
And in like a sentence or two, but try to fit in everything that arm wrestling is in there.
Yeah.
So obviously, it's going to be a difficult to impossible task, but
Okay.
I'd like to hear what you come up with.
Okay. Absolute strength, absolute power in every different direction.
Period.
Absolute strength, absolute power in every different direction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see how that fits because if Half Thor had that, he wouldn't lose to Devon.
No. Exactly.
Right?
Absolute
right.
strength, absolute power. In every different direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
When I describe it,
Yeah.
I tried to add in the element that it's like a war.
Mm.
And I know that's probably a cliche that's overused, but the way I described it is how did I start it? It was it's a physical confrontation with your opponent, hand to hand within the confines of a tabletop.
Okay.
With the goal being attacking with extreme force, power, and aggression your opponent's weaknesses.
Yeah.
That's how I described it.
That's pretty long, dude.
But it's a sentence. It's a long sentence. Yeah. And but what you said is exactly right. It's just that mine was very descriptive.
Yeah.
And yours was still spot on.
Yeah, I think if I mean, I think I only said it that way because if I was to explain it, I think amongst peers.
Yeah.
Amongst peers and other arm wrestlers, if they were like, oh, I think that's essentially what I would say. Absolute strength, absolute power in every different direction.
And that's where the philosophy part comes in. Because like amongst your peers, you're thinking on another level.
Yeah.
And like those words resonate different every time they hit.
Yeah.
Whereas to noob, you're like, well, what is it exactly?
Yeah, exactly.
What are you doing with your elbow? All right. Well, man, is there anything else you want to add as we wrap this up? Like what's going on in 2022?
I mean,
that we all need to pay attention to.
I think I don't know. I mean, I'm really looking forward to more of these like East versus West pay-per-views.
Mm-hmm.
More King of the Table. Really looking forward to Devon and Levan.
Mm-hmm.
Like I honestly feel like that's gonna be huge. It's gonna be really big.
I can't even imagine like what I don't have it in my head what it's gonna look like when they come together.
I think it's gonna be crazy. I think leading up to it, it's gonna. I don't know this, but I feel like leading up to it, it's gonna get bigger. In a sense of, I think people are going to understand the magnitude of the match, and you're gonna have more and more media covering it.
Right, that's
and
a good point.
I think leading up to it, we're gonna see people talk about it that you would have never thought would be talking about it.
Yeah, we gotta build the mountain.
I think that's what's gonna happen, and it's gonna be really cool. I mean, honestly, I feel that if Levan wins, I think it'll be great for the sport.
Mm-hmm.
Because Devon has been such an ambassador for the sport. So I think if Levan beats Devon, that's going to definitely put Levan even more on the map.
Right.
But if Devon wins, I hope shit just hits the fan and Devon just gets all the glory that he can handle. And when I say that, I mean he gets coverage in ways that no other arm wrestler has gotten. He gets recognition that no other arm wrestler has ever gotten. And he becomes the arm wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
He becomes the arm wrestler. I think, again, John is the greatest arm wrestler ever. But I don't think John has or had the personality to carry this sport to where it needs to be. And Devon has it. Devon has that personality to take it to that next level of how people will perceive this sport and perceive it in the highest degree and utmost respect. So a lot of me kind of wants Devon to win.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, if Devon pulls this shit off, I think again it will contribute immensely to the sport of arm wrestling, because it will definitely show that just because you're the bigger man doesn't mean you will prevail.
Yeah, and think about Levan is such a physical Hulk that he was just recently in a movie just because of how crazy he looks.
Well, yeah. I mean, and that's and again, that's what we want.
Mm-hmm.
We want Levan to grow and be in fucking movies.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, how isn't Devon in a fucking movie? You know what I mean?
It's because someone needs to make a movie about Devon, because some guy can play him, because he kind of looks, he's not a hulking monster freak. He's like a sort of a regular guy.
I mean, but he's not.
He's
fucking 6'6". Right. He's a giant of a man, and I mean, and Devon has been in the spotlight. But man, I really hope that this match really gets the attention of people, because this match is I think this match is the match that we've been wanting to see for a while.
Yeah.
And it's going to be cool. It's going to be really cool to see. And if Devon could, another thing too, if Devon can win, it will put a lot of haters to rest, because a lot of people have said how Devon has, he's kind of dodged like the Europeans. And
what has he won? Tell me, what has he won?
It's just like,
right?
I mean,
it's like all that stuff. What tournaments is he placing in?
I mean,
right?
He beat John. He's beat John. He's beat a lot of great guys. And I mean, I don't know.
I agree, because when that match happens, like, there's no match bigger than that. Like, that's like, holy cow.
Yeah.
Either way, it's good, like you said.
Yeah.
But there's one way it's going to go where it's going to be unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. If Levan wins, I think it'll be good for the sport.
Yeah.
Because it's definitely going to show who's the best. But if fucking Devon can do it, fuck. that'll be even more grand for the sport, just off the fact of how much Devon loves this sport and how much he expresses that love for it. You know, I mean, again, you have Levan. Levan's good, but he, there's degrees of everything, and the way Devon expresses himself is just in a higher degree.
No, I agree. Yeah, he's the guy where if you want answers, to everything,
it's especially arm wrestling, and that's who we want. That's who we want to be talking about this to the world, is someone like Devon, because he's able to show immense passion and dedication and really voice the gratitude and the different aspects of arm wrestling, so
awesome.
Yeah, man.
Well, that wraps up episode 9 of All Things Arm Wrestling. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, man.
All right.
I look forward to next time.